if, you know, if he didn't back up, then I might tap him. And that's the correction for that cue in itself. But if I'm leading him, he says, I know better now. But if I stop, and he stopped walking ahead of me, I would not turn because this is where I chose to stop. He should stop according to where I stopped, so then I should be able to stand my ground. This is where I chose to stop, so I'm going to send you back from here. And same thing if I'm leading him. So now, if I want him to lead farther back, where he's walking ahead of me, he's moving into me, I can tap him back and I can have him lead all the way back there if I want. But if I turn around, then I'm right away having to get in here, and then I'm losing all that space that I'm running, right? So, again, if it's just a nice cue, I just need you to back up. Yes, turn around, kind of like showmanship, right? But if you're being pushy, you're walking on top of me, I'm going to stay doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to send you back. Because even from here, I can do that and not have to move. And then I actually have created space.
When I use the ball, if he's getting ahead of me, I just move away to the front of the ball and go.
Yeah.
And also, if he's likes to leave behind me, then I'll just.
Yeah, and then you can do really, I like to practice that I can lead them wherever I want. So if he's too far behind, then I'll tap him up. So we do try to practice both. Ideally, your normal leading position should be kind of right at your shoulder, right? So you can see them out of the corner of your eye. He was extremely pushy when he got here, so then I go a little bit the other direction, right? Because they'll usually settle back a little farther forward.
Yeah, he was even worse than that when I got him, so I've been leading him with him way back.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but it's a bigger correction, so not like, you know, he walks a bit in front of me and I'm just gonna wave the rope a little bit because he's such a big person. Hold on, right? But like I would give him a good tap or a good smack, and then you don't have to keep nagging him with it over and over again. Yeah. But it's much better to go down. But like I said, I do practice that I can send them up out in front of me. And I also like to practice sending them behind me. They should lead wherever you put them. Because that's just practicality, right? You're leading them on a tight path. You're leading them somewhere new. You have to get by somewhere. You want to send them into a trailer. They should be able to go in relation to where you want them. I would like that. But then you can pull that right hand forward. And if they're real sticky about it, then you need like a lunge stick.
Yeah.
Right? Because that rope sometimes isn't enough. If they're really, really, really bad, then you need a second person. Because then what you would do is you would lead like normal and you would have someone back here with the stick to send them forward. That's what we've had to do for some babies sometimes. Because then you go to tap behind you and they're just all over the place. So, but he's not that bad. I would say probably the most you should need is like a stick to just reach farther behind you because he's so big. Yeah.
Yeah, if we go to low, I really make sure he's paying attention to me.
Yeah.
And we'll do that, I'll just walk him around and be really nitpicky about everything. I try to do that each time we ride, just to follow the rules, but like when we go to low, then I want to remind him that figured things out very well today. Okay, and I got my new reins.
Yes, I saw that.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yep. They're very nice, yeah.
Just double check your ties.
Yeah, they're brand new.
He's losing your reins. And then this little guy here, you can just take that off. That's just this loop
Oh,
that
okay.
you haven't tucked through. That's just to keep the reins together when they're being sold.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just tucked it out of the way.
You, I mean, you can leave it
Yeah.
longer, but it doesn't need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I had it, maybe I could leave it on so that I could use it together, but now I got my husband.
Yeah. If you want it, you can have it, but it's not necessary, because obviously there's only one of them, right? So
Yeah.
it's not meant to stay on this, just to keep them together while they're being sold. Yeah, and that is especially reins, because that's why I explained it.
For sure, yeah.
Crappy reins I can't do. I could do like, an X-Stall, even like a leather Latigo or a saddle that maybe isn't the greatest leather that you can go with. But, yeah, reins. There's a few things that I'm real picky about, and reins are one of them. That and eating properly, like, that they're not running me over.
Yep.
That is one of my biggest
hook that stud up. Melvin has a driving bit with shanks, but it's a straight bar. That should be okay, right?
I haven't ever had a bit like that. I've used a little bit of a shank bit,
Have you used a shank on
a little bit,
with a curb strap?
yeah.
Okay. Chain or
It's
leather
not
strap?
been great.
Chain or leather strap?
Chain. You can probably tell his go-to anytime he's confused is he wants to stop. And that kind of comes from you a little bit because anywhere there that there was some miscommunication, right away you just stop.
Okay.
I want you to more so adjust your cues as you go, okay, to make it work. Because wherever you stop, you're saying this is, whatever you just did is correct.
Okay.
So even if he goes, I don't know, maybe you're disengaging and he trots a little bit and you stop because you're not sure why it happened, you're still telling him that trotting was correct. So wherever he gets a break, wherever the pressure comes off, to him, that was the correct answer. So even sometimes we want to stop because we're worried that we're getting the incorrect signals, and a lot of the time we are. But instead of stopping, just adjust how you're asking. So if he was trotting, well then maybe we just needed to take his nose around a little farther so that he can't know what's wrong. So, if for example, I'm walking and I want to turn left, and I have all my cues correctly, I look to the left, I shift my weight to the left, I pull my left rein, and pull him around. Yeah, much harder, more pressure. Like enough and can't stop. As soon as you walk to the left. Hold there, hold there, hold there, hold there. Eventually he'll have to walk. And as soon as he walks, you're gonna let go of that. Let go. If he trots, do that again. So, I'm asking him to turn. My eyes, my lane cues, my rein cue is all correct, but I forgot and I used my wrong leg. Well, if now I was trying to turn left, but I used my left leg and he turns right, and I let it happen, I'm still telling him it's okay to ignore all those other things that were correct. So, instead of stopping or allowing him to go to the right, I would just switch which leg he was in, right? I would keep the rest of the pressure on and adjust what was incorrect. Does that make sense? Because it's like in school, if you ever got told when you said 2 plus 2, if you said it was 3, and nobody ever told you that is incorrect, you can't say that, you would go your whole life believing it. So it's not unkind to give very clear direction, right? We have to tell them what is correct and incorrect, and actually they gain confidence from it. Because if every time he's unsure, he has to stop. I do find he doesn't move as well in the sand here than outdoors, don't I? I'm not sure why, because I would have thought the outdoor was deeper sand, but I find he trips more in here. An observation. If we can give them really clear cues, and even if, say, you want to push him into that corner and walk over that bridge, and he's a little bit scared to do it, if we're concerned that we're putting too much pressure on, or he doesn't like the pressure, and so we just never do it, we're not actually building his confidence, right? But if we put a little bit of pressure on, and he might not be completely settled about it to start with, but we put a little bit of pressure on and we get him to do it, then we will have built his confidence and he'll be the happier for it, right? So it's just really clear direction. Obviously, we're not going to be extreme about it. If they really are super scared of something, then we take steps to make it doable. But it's not unkind to put some pressure on. It's like a test in school. A little bit necessary. So what we started with there was the disengage. Again, that you move your leg back to push his hind end over. I use that rather than pulling back if they're going faster than they need to. or something like that. Because then I can say by pulling straight back, kind of like I said before about the just nicely asking them to back up versus backing up as a correction. If I just have to pull back to stop them, that's just, I need to stop, right? It's not a correction. But if you're jogging off and I never told you to, I can pull them around pretty hard and bump them over, right? So that it's a correction. Does that make sense? So if you were to jog and you didn't tell them to, then I would disengage and hold a minute until you walk. If you walk, you get a left, and now just jog on. So normal turns, to just make a regular turn, the order of cues is look over your shoulder and turn your shoulders. So you're picking something to ride to and turning your body to it without leaning over or forward and back. So you stay straight in your spine, and you can turn around your spine but keep your shoulders level with each other. Because as soon as you start leaning, then we end up having the wrong leg push into our horse, or we end up being off balance. So you kind of tend to lean back into the side.
That's because I'm always leaning forward, I'm trying to lean back.
Stop there for a second. Just stop there, breathe out. So, I want you, have you ever heard of the ear, shoulder, hip, heel line?
Well, like there's a stick in your back, or, yeah,
Well,
I have,
yes.
yeah.
There. So you're tending to ride with your legs out in front, and almost, I can't even do it on the ground with both legs, but like this,
Okay.
right? So if you bring your shoulders straight, you'll be able to get your leg underneath you, right? So if I sit like I'm on a horse, and I would back him up if he wants, you just tell him to. We put him right back where he came from. Same thing if you're leading or you're standing there, and he goes to spin left around you, you don't now finish that circle to the left and stand there, push him back to the right. Okay? So, straight line from my ear, shoulder, hip, heel. You see that? So if I'm leaning back in my shoulders, it's actually driving my seat forward, and then my legs are also out in front of me, which is a lot harder to communicate with them all the way out here, especially on such a big horse. Even with your leg now in a better position, look how much horse is behind your leg, right?
Yeah.
So the more you can control his whole body, the better. But if your legs are out in front of you, you got like that much, right? So you are not leaning forward. I haven't seen you lean forward yet.
Yeah, because I'm
Trying really hard not to. So you want to keep your shoulders over your hips, like over your seat bones. So also not tipped forward in your seat or tipped back in your seat, right? You're just on the middle of your seat bones. And then it'll be easier to get your legs underneath you. So when you go to turn your shoulders, I keep my spine straight. See how my shoulders stay level? Okay? And I'm also not tipping forward, and I'm not tipping back or like twisting. It's just if I turn my head, my shoulders follow it naturally. Right? Okay. So that's much more natural. And that would be for a really tight turn. If I'm only turning to you, I'm only turning this much. Right? So it should feel natural. It's not contorting and twisting and trying to get your horse to turn. If I turn my shoulders, see how that turns my seat too? So it doesn't make sense to just turn your eyes and not your body. That's awkward. So you turn your shoulders, your seat will turn as well, and you can actually see my outside leg turns into my horse. It makes it easier to put my outside leg on. As long as I don't lean, because as soon as I lean, this leg pushes. Right? And then you end up pushing your horse the opposite direction. Okay? So try that just a couple of turns. So that's the first part of the cue to turn, because that's really just making sure that you're balanced and able to move with your horse. And then